going on? It's Alan Thomas, aka Shadow Assassins, and right now I'm doing a new how to draw WWE tutorial, and I'm drawing Shinsuke Nakamura. Now there are a lot of tutorials just showing how to draw different wrestlers and it's just a wrestler standing there. I've done a couple of those like that myself. I'm getting out of that habit. I'm focusing on drawing actual poses nowadays, and I wanted to draw something a little different. So I have Nakamura in a, I guess, Nakamura pose. I don't even know what that would be. He does so many weird body movements and whatnot. I just drew Nakamura doing something, but I didn't want him just standing straight up and down facing the camera. So I have Nakamura doing whatever he's doing in this picture. But in any event, I had my pose laid out in the beginning of the drawing before I started, and I just went from there. One thing that I really wanted to try with this picture is to sort of have a light source in an area that I'm not typically used to. So I wanted the light source to be sort of beneath him, which I can't even recall ever trying before, but it was interesting enough. I guess I was trying to keep almost his entrance in mind, so I wanted almost like a light effect in front of him or beneath him in a sense, and I have most of the shadows coming from behind him. I somewhat lose a little bit of the detail that I colored with in the picture as a result, but it's not that bad, just deal with it. Also, my process for coloring this picture was a little different. I found myself having to color the actual picture of Nakamura first, but because there's so many details in the lines of the jacket, I had to color him in and then go back after I did the shading and then do the details in his jacket and pants and whatnot, which basically are a bunch of black stripes. But I had to color and get all of that blocked into the line art that I did first after sort of going back over my lines. And then after I filled the color in, I shaded it, and I had to shade behind him as I said earlier because I have a light source sort of beneath him. So then after I did my lights almost in the front of Nakamura, sort of where the legs in the front of the arms and face are, then I went back after that and did all of my lines for the picture, the lines in his clothes and whatnot. Also just little details to keep in mind while I was doing this picture, just small stuff like making sure that the actual color of the of his boots and his jacket and pants were two separate color reds, which are just minor little touches to keep in mind while coloring the picture. It's not like it's a make or break thing with the picture, but it's just a small detail to, I guess, keep in my brain while I was working on it. I didn't have to necessarily worry about having to get his hair correct since you're only really seeing one side of his head. So the other side that's really shaved doesn't matter because you don't really see it anyways. And because of the pose itself, there's not really a lot of his face that's showing either. But depending on what pose you draw of Nakamura, you may or may not see his face to begin with, especially if it's the pose where he's laying on his back with his knees to the ground, almost leaning backwards. Like, I don't know what you even call that pose, but the one that he does on the ropes, whatever that is, you probably still wouldn't see his face anyways. You wouldn't see anything but his back folded up like a pretzel. But it was a fun picture. I don't know, I tried, I'm still trying to keep a habit of doing this, making sure that I use the right sort of coloring of the shadows and the highlights. I'm not sure if the highlights even picked up as well as I wanted to, but I do have a sort of darker bluish color to my shadows because I don't have completely black shadows in my picture. They're not completely black shadows in real life in a sense. So I have that sort of bluish hue to my shadows and a sort of reddish color to my highlights. Just a warmer, not necessarily reddish color, but warmer highlights and cooler shadows is what I'm trying to make sure I keep in mind in my pictures. And I remembered to do this for my Nakamura drawing. I'm not sure if I did this for my last Roman and Brock Lesnar ones. I believe I did it for Brock, but I don't believe that I did this for Nakamura. But in any event, this was short and sweet. Not a real lot to go into because there's really not a lot to this picture. Most of the picture is just the bizarre pose in the beginning and then making sure just small details like the lines of the jacket and the hair and coloring is just on point. Other than that, there's not a lot to this. A very interesting painting for considering how simple this was. Wasn't boring at all, and it didn't take me that long to complete. And I like it. So that's Shinsuke Nakamura. If anybody want to, I guess, use this picture for whatever reason as a basis, if they were going to draw their own pictures of Nakamura, just pay attention to the actual line art or the base that I have at the beginning of this video, just the, I guess, initial pose of the picture, and go from there. And that's about it. I have other things that I'm about to get to work on right now. I'll probably have more little tutorials later on in the week. Also, we'll probably do some regular drawing tutorials, just like small, simple anatomy tutorials and whatnot. And I'm probably gonna do a couple watch me draws this week, simply because I have a lot of pages of my webcomic to get done. So that's it. Like the video, also leave a comment and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel to look at other artwork and tutorials and just little vlog videos that's art related every now and then. And have a good one. I'm out.